Good evening everyone, we've hit the halfway point here at round 5 of the Greddy Cooper Z League here with NXTGEN Racing. I'm Jack TM53 Synopsis, your commentator as always on this Thursday evening league. We're following a round of TCR Swargy 98 at the moment in these Greddy cars. Round 5 here at Willow Springs, a classic track, one that's not really been changed since its inception a number of decades ago. It's fairly kept in terms of the same layout since then. And good evening to everybody who's joined. Good evening to yourself, Ruddo, as well, who's out on circuit. We had a bit of a wobble coming out of the right-hander there from Swargy, just coming out of Monroe Ridge. Got a little bit over the sand, but he gathered it all up. We did have one car fly off in the background whilst we were running with Swargy. That was D. Hartley. Had a huge moment coming out of turn 1 into turn 2, the rabbit's ear. Looks like he's been able to carry on unscathed. There's Tim there in 5th, running around. JPH and Suburtus. We're still obviously waiting for the Ruddo himself to get himself in, which will take a little bit of time, no doubt. So let's have a look at, in terms of the championship standings, where everybody is. Have a look at the overall, of course. So just scroll a little bit down. There we are. So in terms of the overall championships, now spoiler alert for those that are unaware, actually it's rather not a spoiler alert, I should say. Round 4 happened last week at Brands Hatch. We weren't able to commentate live on that one, unfortunately, and that's still yet to be commentated on, so thank you very much for JPH. He's managed to block out the results, so I have no idea yet who won in round 4. So bear with me while I go through the championship standings. In terms of the overall, Ruddo 24 leads the way on 157. It's Swargy who we're following here in 2nd place at 130 points. Matty Rudd is 3rd on 120. Bruce Lee Harden's 4th on 118. D. Hartley is 5th on 90. JPH 99 6th on 88, with Snav in 7th place 74, Silver Fox 40 on 54, Tim 78 on 51, and Danzo, who's just joined the lobby, he's also in the top 10 on 46. If we look at the top 5 though, in terms of the individual cars, so the Fugu we're racing with tonight to start off with, Ruddo leads the championship on 85 points, Swargy is 2nd on 73, Matty Rudd is on 61 in 3rd, with Bruce Lee and JPH rounding it off the top 5 respectively, as Swargy finds himself jumping through the cactus. Not a line you'd recommend, nor is that one as he flies off into the barrier. Not ideal for Swargy, but certainly trying to push it in this practice session. Oh, and that's Snav also going off at turn 1. Already the barren wastelands around the Willow Springs race circuit is causing a little bit of grief for the Fugu drivers. Off goes Bruce, coming out of Rabbit's Ear. Alright, behind a fellow family member of his as Snav goes sideways again through turn 3. Not ideal. But back to where we were, that was the Fugu standings in terms of the top 5. In terms of the Mini Coopers though, it's a little bit different. Ruddo also still leads that. No change at the top there in 72 points, with Bruce Lee on 62 in 2nd, Matty Rudd 3rd on 59, Swargy is 4th on 57, and D. Hartley is 5th on 53 points. So a lot of drivers will be getting acquainted with this track. Classic track is Willow Springs, features a lot in terms of the old ARC calendar, you know, in terms of the old American races. Snav really exploring the extremities of the racetrack at the moment, and a couple of offs already, but he's there in 3rd place. Tim just getting used to the track in terms of the car and track combination. He's 14 seconds quicker than his initial practice run so far. Let's watch Tim as he comes around this long right-hander at the sweeper. Sweeper that first part and then round that final corner, which is classically known as turn 9, as Tim runs through the cactus. What's that lap time going to be from Tim? It's going to be an improvement. It's a 23.5, so a bit of time to make up from Tim. And qualifying starting in 1 minute. Bit of a queue going on. Danzo's got Bruce Lee sideways behind him, coming out of that wing's leg, which is what we're coming into now. Oh, Danzo's gone off the track actually, going into the sweeper, and that's going to be him round, and it is indeed. Just cut to him just in time to see him go facing the wrong way. Whether he'll try and let the car reverse backwards, well, we'll never know. Quali starting right now, and the damage just being reset. And there we are. So 10 minutes of qualifying then for the drivers to try and navigate in these Fugu cars. A couple of drivers not in tonight, unfortunately. Would have been nice to have seen them, but have really opened up the pack. Obviously, commitments, availability is always a little bit difficult for some drivers. Can't help that. But at the moment, Swargy's got himself out first on track. Ruddo's here with us tonight as well, the championship leader across all three categories in terms of the two individual cars and the overall championship as well. Tim there in the top 10 in the overall championship. Hartley goes wide and into the gravel trap. Oh, and goes for a little jump as well. Danzo almost hits the back of him and ends up in the gravel trap himself almost, which wouldn't have been ideal for Danzo. Just on the approach that to Budweiser balcony, it's called, at the top corner. That is Tim off the road. He's just come off the corner. It's a tricky left-hander that where Tim's come off. And there's Sir Bertis with a classic retro livery he's got going on there. That's the old Skyline back in the day. That's the 240 RS version, that livery that he's running there. That's a classic livery for those that aren't aware of it. And Bertis running that. A Dutch driver, likes his old classic liveries, likes referencing them. I can't say I dislike that approach. There's Tim, there's JPH, just coming around that final corner down on the main straight, see how he gets on. And Snav, who we've seen a couple of drivers off the circuit already. They need to just keep themselves pointing in a straight line. It's very easy to make a mistake in these cars, especially around such a track that really punishes the driver if you step out of line. Oh, I can see Swargy's just caught the edge of the curb there, coming out of Budweiser balcony. Through the difficult left-hander, then over Munro Ridge. This is his little right-hander. Slides the car through it. Into Wing's leg. This very quick left-hander. Most wouldn't call it a corner, and then into the sweeper. I think today, though, in terms of running on board with a driver, I think we're going to go with Danzo. We've not done that so far this season. You see how close and how, you know, Danzo is to the inside of the track, and he's off at turn 9. He's going to go right off the circuit. So we won't follow Danzo. We won't follow Bertis either, who's done exactly the same thing. Instead, hopefully, fingers crossed, JPH will be able to get round this final corner at turn 9 with no incidents, and he does, and that's Tim off the road. So 3 cars going into the undergrowth, but well done Tim, at least he kept it out of the wall. Even if he ended... well, in the end he didn't. Right, so let's go on board with Snav after all of that. So, Bruce Lee Harden set the initial pace, but we're on board with Snav then as we approach turn 1, up to 152 miles an hour, down the brakes into 4th gear. This long sweeping left-hander. Snav missing the braking point there, just understeered a bit wide. Then into turn 2, this long left-hander known as the Rabbit's Ear. It's a very... it feels like the corner goes on forever in this car, but you've just got to be patient on the throttle, right moment for that. Still a very quick corner down, then into potentially 3rd gear for Snav for the turn 3. Oh, he's got the tail sticking out a little bit as he comes through Budweiser balcony. A double apex right-hander, got to clip the inside curb, which he does just about, and then a quick right and a quick left. And left-hander, the most difficult part, rear-wheel drive car, of course. Tails kicks out a little bit, which it does for Snav. Then over Munro Ridge. Flat in these cars, shouldn't be any issues there. Then into Wing's leg, completely flat left-hander, and then into the sweeper. At the moment, Snav just less than 7/10 off the pace, so good lap so far, to 152 mile an hour then. Ooh, and Snav's running as close to the line as he can, but he gets a nice exit coming out of turn 9. Really good application of the throttle there. Look committed. What's his lap time going to be as he comes towards the line? It's not an improvement. So Bertus was next up. He does improve by 5 seconds, which isn't too difficult, considering he was facing the wrong way. And Bertus and Tim, Danzo's just improved himself up into a 1:19.9, still loads of time to find. Tim gets himself up to 8th as well. So it's Bruce Lee currently in front. The number 69 driver, the Freddo liveried car, leads the way. He's a 10th slower at the moment. He's got Ruddo just tracking him currently. Well, Ruddo likes to do this, likes to follow other cars, get his own reference points when he needs them during qualifying. And you can see the different types of lines used by the drivers. You see Bruce Lee took a wider line there. Ruddo was a little bit more tighter. Swargy puts himself into 2nd place. Will Ruddo improve? Well, he won't, because looking at it, he's way off the pace there on that lap. D. Hartley improves. He's within a second of Bruce Lee Harding. JPH 1:17.5. Clips the inside curb. Can he hold it? He can't. And round goes JPH backwards, probably into the pit lane at this point. Kept it out of the wall. And into the pits he goes to lick his wounds. Danzo, little wiggle coming out of Monroe Ridge. Tim's coming round the final corner as Bertus gets himself up into 7th position, 1:18.5 on that lap. Oh, and that is, I think that's Snav who's gone off the road. He has, and he's into the catch fencing almost, and he's over the other side of the little ridge. It's going to take him a bit of time to get out. And as I said earlier, this is a track that will punish the drivers. They will not at all find this easy to do, but Ruddo is currently purple in the 2nd sector. It means he's the fastest driver to set a lap time in that sector. Not fastest to set a sector time, rather, on this lap. Now, Ruddo, see how much the car yaws over to the final corner. Ruddo was stretching it as much as he could. Will he improve? Will he get provisional pole with a couple of minutes to go? He doesn't quite get there. It's only a 16.2, so maybe a little bit too wide out of turn 9. That's cost him 700ths of a second to Bruce Lee, who still leads the way, but Bruce Lee hasn't been quite able to get close enough to his initial pole setting pace. Every driver, bar Swargy, currently seems to have had a little wobble somewhere out on track. Obviously Snav went off before D. Hartley went off on his initial flyer. Oh, and that's JPH. I thought I saw someone going off the track. JPH on his out lap. That's going to cost him a good amount of time, that, as Snav goes past him. Just to set his, go on to his next flying lap. As Bertus, who clips the inside curb, can he keep his foot in it? He does. Keeps it clean and keeps it out the side. Danzo, can he get out of the wall? He does, but he ends up firing it over to the other side of the track. Round he goes behind the barrier on the inside of the circuit. That's going to take him a long time to get out of there. Tim, meanwhile, just keeping it on the road. That's what he needs to do. Bruce is running so far wide. Coming out of the sweeper into turn 9, he's trying to maximise his exit as best as he can. Looks like he's on for a relatively decent time, but will he improve? Not quite. It's a 16.4 from the initial pole sitter. Ruddo didn't improve on that lap either. He did a 19.5. So both of the drivers in the walls as Bruce Lee goes all over the gravel, sand, whichever you want to call it. Swargy consistently in the 16s as it stands, but he needs to find a little bit more time. Only a 10.5 to get that pole position. Snav in 4th place, providing some entertainment. In fact, Snav just about to come around this final corner at turn 9. Will he be able to make any impression? Excuse me. Make an impression on the front 3. Comes towards the line. That's an improvement from Snav. Gets himself almost within half a second of the front 3, and he's flew off the road, and that could be the end of that in terms of setting another lap time. D. Hartley, he's going round at the moment. He's 3/10 off his best lap. He's got himself into the 16s. As it stands, he's on for a low 17. Just right on board with D. Hartley. I was going to cut over to Bruce Lee Harding just to show you the different lines used by the drivers around this circuit. But Bruce is going to have one more lap. And Ruddo gets himself into provisional pole. It's a 15.9. What a time to step up for Ruddo. Excellent lap. And he is the first, the number 24. gets himself below that 16 barrier threshold, which drivers were saying they thought was capable of doing it. That's the first time we've seen it in the session, though. Swargy's going to run off the road, coming out of Budweiser balcony. And drink and drive, everybody, remember. Snav, D. Hartley. Oh, D. Hartley coming off the corner. He's going to go up the embankment almost. Not ideal for him in terms of his line. JPH, this is his final lap then. Doesn't improve. And that is that for JPH. He'll just be looking for some consistency. Bursus, he comes across the line. He will get one more lap. Someone's gone sideways across the start-finish line. Not sure quite who that is. Trying to see. So Swargy, he won't improve. He's had a bit of a mare on that lap. What about Ruddo? Can he go any quicker? Can he extend his gap to the cars behind him? He can. He does a 15.9. Bruce Lee doesn't going to improve. He doesn't at all. D. Hartley is backwards and round. He tried to push at the final corner. It hasn't worked out for him. So, Danzo's still on a lap time at the moment. I think Burtis potentially is on a lap. No, he's not on a lap at all. So it's down to Danzo. Let's ride with the chase cam. Down into fourth gear. 110 mile an hour. Oh, he's just a little wiggle sideways. It's gonna go. Is he gonna go committed? He doesn't. He just eases off the throttle. Doesn't want to spin up the rears. It could be an improvement though, and it is. He gets himself into a 19.1, puts himself a second clear of Tim in 9th place. But well done to Ruddo. Pole position for him. That's a great effort from our championship leader. On the front foot again. And going into the race shortly. But it's Ruddo 24 on pole position. Bruce Lee Harding in second place. He's had a little bit of speed. He would have been a bit frustrated he lost pole but right at the end, but that's still positive for him. Swargy, and a very good showing from Snav on that second row. But here we go into the race. So it's Ruddo 24 on the left hand side and that black and gold Fugu Z. Then you've got Bruce Lee Harding in the Freddo car on the right hand side with Swargy and Snav on the second row. D. Hartley also within a second of that pole position time, but let's see how the drivers get on. There's 20 minutes on the right hand side and the drivers are getting themselves ready. And the race is live here from Willow Springs. Looks like a relatively even launch from the front two. So Ruddo will be in the lead as they approach turn 1. Swargy trying to challenge around the outside, but no real way through there. That's D. Hartley's gone backwards from the start. He's dropped down to 6th place and JPH is up into 5th. So position gained for him. Burtis in 7th. Then there's Danzo and then it's Tim as well. So everybody through the first corners relatively safely. Ruddo though has himself the lead. Let's get all the camera angles and see where we're at with everything. There we go. Now at the moment Ruddo leads the way. Bruce Lee, oh, Bruce just having a little twitch coming through Budweiser balcony. That's Swargy going a little bit onto the gravel coming out of that corner. It's got to be careful. Snav, there's JPH sliding the car through. Nice line from JPH there. That's Burtis run a little bit wide. That's D. Hartley down in 7th, so not a good opening lap at all from D. Hartley. Danzo's there. Tim's round, unfortunately. He's the first casualty we've had just coming out of Monroe Ridge there. Not ideal. Let's see if the drivers can keep it on the circuit as they come round turn 9 for the first time at racing speed. All looks relatively straightforward. Got D. Hartley all over the back of Suburtus. Let's follow with Danzo. Danzo's got a really good view of this. He's following the slipstream of D. Hartley on the right hand side as they approach that 100 metre marker where they'll brake. Burtis holds the inside line. D. Hartley couldn't try really to do the switchback. He went a little bit too deep and he stays in position for the time being. Rest of the other drivers out at the moment all line astern, but Bruce Lee and Ruddo already looking like they're trying to escape from Swargy. Swargy had that little moment earlier on. I've just seen Tim actually going backwards before he gets to turn 1 on the map. Not sure what's going on with Tim there, but hopefully he can sort himself out. Both drivers putting a little wheel on the gravel there. Ooh, nice line from Bruce Lee. Got to really throw the car in to keep up the momentum. over Monroe Ridge, unsettles the car. It's completely flat though for the drivers. JPH looking to put pressure on Snav now in 4th position. Danzo's got past D Hartley, so it's not going well for D Hartley. Started in 4th position, or rather started in 5th position. He's now dropped down to 8th, so 3 places lost. Everyone else at the moment keeping it all together, but Bruce Lee shaping up for an attack on Ruddo now as we come towards turn 1 for the 3rd time. On the outside, brakes a little bit. Whoa, okay, I'm not quite certain what happened there. Fairly certain that was just a replay, well, not rather a replay, but a live stream glitch, but hopefully we won't see that again. Bruce Lee probably got a little bit of a shock if he did end up having that. So, carry on as it was. Swargy still 3rd, Snav 4th, JPH putting him under pressure. Little wiggle out of Rabbit's ear from JPH. And keep that on the straight and narrow. That's what it's all about in these initial stages. Bertus still in 6th place. Danzo with 7th. Oh, that's Bertus who's run a little bit deep. He's got a little bit wrong. And that's D Hartley who's going to go past the pair of them. Up the inside. Takes advantage of Bertus's mistake and Danzo's infringement there. And Hartley takes 2 spots back. Bertus with that just little error that's cost him. He's going to lose momentum as well coming out of that corner. Out of the left-hander, he's going to be on the inside line for the sweeper though, so he should be able to hold this position. We'll ride side by side with these two. Just about keeps hold of it. And Danzo just breaks a little bit earlier. Someone's off the road. Up ahead, it's JPH who's gone off the road. D Hartley's followed him off as well. Who's got the momentum coming off the corner? It's definitely not JPH. He's going to lose a position. Is he going to lose a position to Danzo? He might do. JPH just keeping the door open, didn't want to cheat there, and JPH made a mistake at the final corner. Down to 8th place he goes. Tim already in danger of being lapped. That looked like Bertus getting all out of shape out of turn 1, so the action already happening so far, but that gives Snav a breather, gives him the chance just to run at his own pace, and Swargy gets himself a chance now to try and refocus and reconsolidate into the 16s. That time of asking. Bruce Lee Harden with the fastest lap of the race, faster even than pole position, but don't forget that slipstream is worth quite a lot around this circuit. Ruddo on for a personal and fastest 2nd sector of the race so far, 3/10 up on the best sector time set currently with a quarter of the session gone. Well, I've got to say, Ruddo looking imperious already. That's Danzo who's dropped a position there. Oh, he's all out of shape going through the sweeper, and that's JPH up the inside. Back up to 7th for the Boyd Transport driver. Although he's wide out the corner, he's just about held it all together. Here comes Danzo then. Momentum regained for the Newcastle fan. He's going to try and go around the outside into turn 1, and he does it indeed. Brakes a little bit too late though, and flies almost off the track. JPH takes his position back. As Bertus, he's gone off the road. He's going to lose time. He's going to lose positions. He's lost 6th place. He's down to 8th already. Gets back on the track. Ran too wide at the Rabbit's ear, and that's it for him. Dutch driver loses 2 spots. So JPH up to 6th. D Hartley recovering now. He's back where he started in 5th place. That's Snav in 4th. There's Swargy in 3rd. And Bruce Lee in 2nd. Tim has gone off the road again. He's gone flying off the road. There he is. I have to say, a unique set of circumstances for Tim. He's trying to find his way back on the track. He's actually gone beyond the barrier and now lapped by the drivers. And Tim, I think, just pulling over. He's probably going to wait to get back on track and not get in anybody's way. So, 6 laps down and 6.5 minutes gone in the session so far. Bruce Lee just staying on the back of Ruddo for the time being. That's what he needs to do. Keep running in the low 16s. You can see the drivers fighting the car through Rabbit's ear there, through that corner. Really difficult corner to get right. You've got to be so patient. And then apply the throttle at the right time. Swargy's 3 seconds back from this. He's on for 3rd as it stands, with Snav in 4th. D Hartley there in 5th place. On for a personal best currently, but you see the difference between the top 4 really. You know, top 4 covered by a second in terms of the fastest lap so far that they've done. And D Hartley's done a 17.7. JPH has actually done a 16.7 from when he was running around earlier, but since then it's been sideways non-stop in his pursuit to catch D Hartley. So I think there's going to be a battle there later on. Danzo's not too far away either. And Bertus trying to recover after his mistake before. JPH now within a second, or was briefly within a second of D Hartley. See, JPH takes a tighter line, tries to accelerate later on. Very close to going off into the pit lane if the gravel sand had taken it with him. D Hartley wants to try and hold on to that 5th place. This isn't necessarily a bad thing for the drivers though. Let's not forget, you know, the Mini Cooper race that's going to start soon. The drivers will be based on reverse grid order from this race. As it stands, Tim will be on pole position. Bruce Lee and Ruddo just separated by a second. Oh, that's a big slide from Bruce Lee coming out of Monroe Ridge. He's really pushing that Fugu Z. Really wants to keep on the back of the championship leader. JPH has dropped back from D Hartley on this lap. Look how sideways JPH was there coming through Monroe Ridge. Bertus as well. Danzo's gone off actually. So Danzo unfortunately was running in 7th place. Tim has unfortunately retired. That's at 8 drivers. About half the session still remaining. So who will be able to make the next move? It's just quieting down in the last minute or so. May be a lack of on-track action, but it's certainly not lost its intensity. Let's look at Bruce Lee. Can see Ruddo just in front of him, tantalisingly close. He'll be benefiting a little bit from the slipstream corridor that happens around this circuit. Obviously, with it being a shorter lap and the aerodynamics of these cars creates a sort of wind tunnel effect almost to slip the car along and make it faster in a straight line, and Bruce Lee will benefit from that. Ooh, both drivers pushing it to the absolute limits at that final corner. Danzo's gone off. I think he's going to go off again. He is going off again, right off the circuit. The man in last place currently just needs to get himself back on track, which he does, keep it on the road. And Bruce Lee's got that gap slightly down, but is that as a result of the corner that is Rabbit's Ear? Different lines. Doesn't look like it currently. Definitely seems that Bruce Lee's closed that gap visually, just slightly. Can he make any impression on the championship leader? Swargy there in 3rd place. Snav doing a sterling job in 4th. D Hartley in 5th place. JPH is not quite catching Hartley just yet, but with a line like that, that will cut down a 10th or 2, and you can see it does do that, and that's Hartley off the road. Hartley gets himself back on, but JPH should be able to dart up the inside, and he does. And JPH slides into 5th position. A little bit wide from JPH though. And this is the chance for some on-track action. Look at D Hartley now, riding with him currently. Snav's also gone off ahead actually. And Snav has moved. No, it's not Snav actually, it's Danzo. My apologies to Snav. But D Hartley was right in the slipstream, but I think seeing Danzo dart off the road, it's just put the frighteners on him a little bit. It's dropped him back away from JPH. So no immediate attack coming on this approach to turn 1 then. D Hartley and JPH now together on track. Subert is still in 7th, Danzo in 8th place. He's a lap back now. It's down to Danzo just to pick up some points at the moment. And Ruddo and Bruce Lee still separated by less than a second. Ruddo was 4/10 slower than Bruce Lee Harding on that last lap. And these two are having a great fight at the front. You know, it doesn't always have to be about on-track action. The mental fight that goes on between the drivers to push it to the limit, as you could see with Bruce there. He ran it so deep through the sweeper. He's actually lost time as a result. And that gap goes back over a second. But the ability that the drivers have to have, the resilience and resolve that the drivers need to make sure that they don't make any mistakes when either defending a lead or trying to fight for one, is so tough. And Ruddo has now broke that gap over 1.3 seconds. With 6 minutes 50 odd to go, Bruce Lee's going to have to dig deep if he wants to get a race win in this Fugu. Swargy in third place. He's in a neutral zone at the moment, is Swargy. All he needs to do realistically is just keep it on the road, keep it at a steady pace like he is doing, and he'll be on his way to a podium. And there's Snav in fourth. A really good drive this from Snav. Consistently been in the 17s. Limited the amount of stakes he's had so far. JPH and D Hartley still close on track. Hartley just run it into the sand gravel there. And we've got another retirement. Danzo has gone, so Bertus will now be the last point scorer. Dutch driver who flew off the road earlier on will be getting 10 points for his efforts. Ruddo still leads. Gained 4/10 on Bruce Lee that lap. Just gone. Ooh, Swargy going off the road there. Snav's gone off the road as well. He's gone off at the final corner. That's JPH through and D Hartley. So both Swargy and JPH went off the road. Swargy's blush is spared thanks to the fact that Snav went off. But that is exceptionally fortunate for Swargy. He's got 14 seconds, the best part of to JPH, who doesn't have that gap at all to D Hartley. That's less than 4/10 of a second. We ride on board with D Hartley. He's got a new personal best sector in sector 1. Can he try and make a move up the inside? He can't through Budweiser balcony. Quick flick right, then on the brakes down into the left-hander just before Monroe Ridge. Well, JPH has already extended his gap out. Stav will be a bit frustrated with that one. Yeah, he was on for a best Fugu Z result of the season there. Still got 4.5 minutes though. And D Hartley and JPH will both need to keep it on the track if they want to do anything special. If Snav wants to do anything special, he's got to try and get past them. Oh, that's Bertus wide going through the final corner. Keeps it on the road. A little bit sideways, but he makes it in the end. Ruddo has just about broken Bruce Lee Harding's resolve. The gap is 2.5 seconds. I think that might be it for Bruce. He might just accept that second place is the option that he should take here. He's got 12 seconds, the best part of to Swargy, who's lost even more time to JPH. The gap's less than 10 seconds. JPH though still in 4th place as D Hartley in 5th, Snav in 6th. Bertus in 7th position. Drivers have got less than 3.5 minutes to go. Couple of laps remaining. Ruddo has that prime position right there. There's a 50 marker board on the inside of the track. There's the approach to turn 1. But Swargy, they're in 3rd place. Despite his error earlier, he's on track for a podium. JPH will be pleased with his fight back, but he's got to make sure he fends off D Hartley before the end of this race. 2 and a bit minutes to go. We'll just follow with D Hartley as they come round the sweeper, or rather the rabbits here. Oh, you see JPH has the car sideways coming off the corner. Maybe he feels more comfortable with that line. We've seen it a few times now. There's Snav there. I'd say Bertus is run back through to catch up to the rest of the field. It's been quite impressive. He's only 8 seconds off the back. He won't get enough time, I don't think, to get past any drivers unless they make a mistake or spin off. But nevertheless, it's been a really good recovery from Bertus after his off on lap 5. And consistent lap times on the right hand side of the board. Been really, really positive to watch. At the moment, there are no real on-track fights. If Snav makes any inroads in this gap, it's a 17-4. Snav has been consistently in the 17s through this race, apart from the 2 laps he had mistakes. And that's what Hartley and JPH are doing, so it's going to be really difficult for the Betty Swallocks driver to catch up with just a lap after this to go. That's Bertus off at turn 1. Oh, and he goes for a jump as well. Executed the landing quite well, but probably not good for his back. Ruddo now then. He's got one more lap to go after this final corner. It's coming through the sweeper and into turn 9. Cuts the car through nicely. He will start his final lap. See how he gets on. There's Bruce Lee and it's Swargy. JPH still has D Hartley shadowing him. Snav is not too far away, but it's going to be potentially too little too late. Same for Bertus for that matter, but for definitely different reasons. Gotta say, it was a valiant effort from Bruce Lee in this race. He really kept the pressure on Ruddo in the opening stages. Just lost that slipstream though from Ruddo, and it's been a fighting uphill battle since then. He's done well to keep the gap where it's at, keeps the championship respectable. But let's talk about Ruddo. He's absolutely flying in this series at the minute. He's doing excellent work in that Fugu car. He's going to start from the back for the next race in the Mini Cooper, but trust me, you'll see him fight through that pretty quickly. Here he comes then round the final corner. It's going to be, again, a number of times this season he's done it already, but it's going to be Ruddo 24 who wins the first race of the evening in the Fugu Z. Bruce Lee is going to finish in second place. Swargy just got to get around this final corner, which he navigates successfully. He is going to finish in third position. Great effort from Swargy. JPH comes around that final corner. He's going to hold off D Hartley in the end. That's a good recovery drive from JPH. He finishes 4th. D Hartley, what could have been, he's in 5th place. And Snav as well, dropped from 4th to 6th. He won't be too pleased about his mistakes there. And then round this final corner, round these final corners, the sweeper comes Bertus on the brakes, down into 4th gear, in the Tomica backed car, and up towards the line goes Bertus, who will finish 7th in this race. Well, it's Ruddo 24 who's got the victory. He got the pole position and he got the fastest lap. The clean sweep for Ruddo, and it's looking very hard for anybody to try and beat him this season. In the Fugus, he's been absolutely astonishing so far. So, that's the first race of the evening conducted so far. We'll be back in a few minutes' time to conduct race 2. So do check it out. I'll keep the stream open, but we'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back, everyone. It's here, of course, the Greddy Cooper Z League. The drivers will be switching themselves over into the Mini Cooper S for some laps out on track, and you can see that a couple of them already out there. Everybody, by the seams of it, is out currently. No updated liveries this week from the drivers. They're all keeping on their same ones. So, race 2 due to start in just a moment's time as Bruce goes a little bit wide out of turn 9. Oh, Tim going very wide out of turn 9, and Swargy also went off. This is going to be another challenge for the drivers. It's front wheel drive this time around. The car very likely to understeer off the circuit, and the drivers have got to be aware of that and make sure that they try and avoid what Bruce has just done. Keep it on the road. 125 the best lap so far. You compare that to the 115s that the drivers were doing shortly before this practice session. Let's see how the drivers adapt. Oh, Swargy runs it right out to the white line there, as does Tim, D. Hartley, Snav, JPH, Danzo. Now, Danzo retired from the earlier race, as did Tim. And also the fact that Suburtus isn't racing in the minis, unfortunately. So we're down to 8 drivers. So the reverse grid pole position, unless Danzo and Tim get reset and put in front of everybody, it could be Snav on pole. If I'm correct in saying that, we'll soon find out. Jordan JPH 99 will be setting that up for everybody. A couple of drivers who haven't been in the championship for a few rounds. Be good to see a couple of them back. There's Bruce going even quicker on his last lap. So we're just waiting for Jordan to confirm that and get things underway. It will be a task for the drivers starting near the back to get themselves through the field, and there will be a few drivers who could certainly put a spanner in the works, maybe surprise everybody with a victory tonight. Of course, don't forget, you know, this is theoretically the last championship on Gran Turismo Sport before Gran Turismo 7 comes out next month, which I'm sure the leagues will be moving over to. But the race has been counting down the last few seconds, so here we go then, in for race 2. So it will be Tim on pole position again this season. Danzo will be second with Snav third and D. Hartley fourth. It's going to be fascinating to see how the drivers adapt to the situation and track evolution. But there's 15 minutes on the right hand side for the second time tonight. Let's see how they launch. And the race is live from Willow Springs, and it looks like a relatively good launch from Danzo. Will he be able to get past Tim as they come towards turn 1? It looks like he will be as they get to that first corner. Snav looking for some movement in the middle of the pack there. Can he get up the inside of Tim? He does, and he's up to second. So good launch from Snav, fourth to second already. Ruddo and Bruce Lee in the background there trying to find the position, but it is Danzo who leads currently. Snav trying to go around the outside. Tim's in third, JPH up to fourth, D. Hartley's there in fifth with Swargy, Ruddo and Bruce Lee. They're all trying to find a little bit of room out on circuit. It's almost 3 wide coming towards turn number 3. They're all jostling for position. That's Snav trying to go up the inside of Danzo. That didn't quite work. Tim's off the road. I think Swargy has followed them off. They've both gone off. They jumped back onto the circuit. Not ideal for them, and in fact Swargy's got himself really stuck, so that's going to lose all the momentum, and that's Bruce Lee off the road additionally. So the drivers already having a turbulent lap in the initial run-in. We didn't have this in the Fugus, but we are having it now. Ruddo's up to third already. Danzo is in second place. Snav has got himself into the lead, the number 11 Betty Swallock's driver. I said he'd be one to watch before. He is in the lead currently. Tim looking to try and put a move up the inside and goes past JPH. Ah, JPH made a mistake, it looks like it, coming out of the ridge there. And that's cost him. And well done to Tim. Gets past another driver. D. Hartley then in 5th place. Bruce Lee after going off the road, he's up to 4th. Then it's Ruddo, Danzo and Snav all in a line as they come towards turn 1. They will be topping out the rev limiter though. This is something to be aware of, ladies and gentlemen. The minis are capped at 118 miles an hour. So, as the magic bell in the background signals that they are hitting 118 miles an hour. Who went flying off the road then? That was D. Hartley. And he's going to go off, he's going to go round, and he's off and into the banking. Flies up the curb. Swargy's going to get a position, but that's about it really, to be honest with you. For D. Hartley, he's going to have such difficulty trying to catch up. Snav, by the way, still leads this race. Ruddo is in 2nd. Danzo's just been overtaken by Bruce Lee. That's an excellent manoeuvre from Bruce. Set that up round the outside and then onto the inside line. Can he get after Ruddo and Snav? Because Ruddo is on the outside line at the moment. Danzo in that 4th position as JPH in 5th, trying to find a way through. Can he do anything at the moment? JPH has got a little bit of work to do to try and get himself back onto the rest of the group. You got Tim there in 6th, Swargy and D. Hartley. Tim keeps it on the road. He's on a way to beating a couple of drivers today if he can do that. But Snav's off the road. Can he hold it on? He just about did. Luckily for Snav, they're all capped at 118, but here comes Bruce Lee. He's going to go past the pair of them. It's going to be almost 2 by 2 coming in towards turn 1. Will Snav try and break a little bit later? He does, and he gets into 2nd place again. He runs a bit deep though into turn 1. Will Ruddo have enough momentum to go around the outside? He does indeed, and Ruddo takes 2nd place back. Good effort from Snav, trying to hold on in terms of that position, but Snav in 3rd place, and it's brought Danzo just into the mix here. He's within a second. If he can hold that slipstream, the Newcastle fan could be in with a shout here. JPH isn't too far away either. Let's see how everybody gets on then. That 118 mile an hour limiter is going to throw in a few spanners here for a couple of drivers. It's going to make it very tough for them all to try and get past one another, but this has been cannily set up to keep it very open to come towards the sweeper, going through the wings leg here right now and into the sweeper. None of them will be gaining on each other really through this section of the course, but Bruce Lee, he will come off the corner in the lead. And the car's now just buzzing the limiter. They can't really go any quicker than that unless somehow they manage to find some way of tricking the limiter. So they're all line astern. Oh, Bruce Lee's wide coming out of turn 1. Dipped a wheel into the gravel sand. Danzo's lost a bit of momentum. JPH wants to get past him. He wants to get involved in that fight for the podium. JPH trying to go around the outside at turn 2 through Rabbit's Ear, but he can't quite get alongside. He is there. Whether he'll be able to make a lunge into the turn 3, will he look for it? He does break a little bit later. Danzo gives him the room. They're still side by side as they come into Budweiser balcony. JPH can't get the switch back though. Swargy there in 6th, Tim in 7th, D. Hartley 8th. I fear that those 3 are very much cut adrift from the pack now. They're not going to see much action. JPH trying to go around the outside and then the inside. Over the ridge they go. No change. But Snav, Ruddo and Bruce Lee running as a threesome. Going through the sweeper. And Bruce Lee just hugging that inside line. Bruce Lee knows that if he can just keep the car in position, he's not going to lose too much momentum. He's going to get the slipstream as Ruddo. He's going to move to the outside line, but look at them hitting the limiter as they come along. They do just that, and they're side by side with literally nothing separating them. Snav's waiting in the midst. Ruddo won't be able to go around the outside, so Ruddo just slots in behind. JPH now 4.5 seconds off the back of these 3 after fighting with Danzo for so long. Swargy trying to make some gains. Oh, Bruce Lee's gone out wide. Is this a chance for Ruddo to go up the inside? It is indeed. Ruddo just about shuts the door on Bruce Lee and gets himself into the lead of the race. Snav right there as well. We cannot rule any of these three drivers out of the race victory. If they hold each other up though, will JPH have any opportunity to catch up? That is really the question. It's going to be hard with 8 minutes or so to go as they come over the ridge for the 5th time of asking. Snav with the fastest lap of the race there. I have to get that one double checked whether Snav has done fastest lap in a top level series before, but Bruce Lee's trying to go around the outside at the sweeper. This is going to give a little bit of awkwardness for Ruddo. This might be the strategy for the drivers to use to upset the driver in first place. Try and go around the outside, force them onto the slower line, which is keeping it tight, and then get a little bit of momentum off the corner. As you can see now, riding on the floor cam with Bruce Lee, you can see Ruddo keeping it hooked as tightly as he can. And he swings over a little bit to the outside line. We're following Snav into turn 1. 5th gear, good line from Snav. Just didn't have the momentum to get enough alongside Bruce Lee, and Ruddo takes a wider line. All three of them taking different lines through the rabbit's ear. Bruce Lee closes up the gap by taking the tighter line. Past the halfway mark of this race now. It's a really good battle for the race lead. Ruddo trying his absolute utmost to keep hold of it, but he leaves the door open, and Bruce Lee, can he get up the inside? He leans on the car a little bit. He actually pulled the handbrake, I think, and here comes Snav up the inside. That should be a move done into 2nd place. Snav looking for a race win for the first time in a top level championship. I know that he won races in Lobby 2 last season in the McGann Trophy, but can he do it in the Prime League? Can he pull it off? But Ruddo will know all this is going on behind him, and he won't want to cost any momentum now. Snav will want to try and pull his way back up to the number 24, but it's going to be very difficult to do with the miles per hour limited at 118. You'll get a little bit of slipstream here. You can see the gap does come down, but it's by thousandths of a second as opposed to tenths. It's got to come down to the driver's skill through these corners. I think Bruce Lee might try and does indeed. He's actually going to try and push Snav along. They can't fight too much, Bruce Lee and Snav. If they do that, they're going to lose the back of Ruddo, and he'll be gone. And you can see the gap now going out to 7/10 almost. Bruce Lee trying to go around the outside. There's JPH in 4th position. Having a lonely race, JPH, but 2 4th places will do his World Championship a whole load of good. Danzo in 5th position. There's Swargy in 6th. Tim is still in 7th. D. Hartley, since he went flying off the circuit, the dust you can see accumulated on his car. Since he went off the road, he's just had an awfully lonely race. But Ruddo still leads. 5 minutes effectively to go. But can the drivers make an impression on Ruddo ahead? You can see that the slipstream's working now, but it's a thousandth, 2 thousandths of a second, 3 thousandths of a second. It's nothing really. It's pretty negligible for the drivers. So it's going to come down to what Snav and Bruce Lee can do. Can they push each other along through the corners? Can they utilise some tactics to get onto the back of Ruddo? Everybody else is just running in formation. Swargy is catching Danzo for 5th. I can see that on the map, but they are not close enough yet to switch the camera over to. And admittedly, Hartley is also catching Tim. What a result that would be for Tim, though, if he could finish in front of another car. I know that some people might say, well, that doesn't seem like an achievement. Trust me, it is. Any achievement finishing a race is always an achievement. But for Tim, beating another competitor, that's what it's all about. They just can't seem to close the gap. Ever since Snav got past Bruce Lee, they've just lost the momentum, and Snav is now costing even more time to Ruddo. And Ruddo might just be up and away with this. Doesn't need to worry about slipstream too much. Snav and Bruce Lee going for it as much as they can, and rightly so. But that race win just slipping away from them with 3.5 minutes to go. Oh, that's Ruddo very wide out of the final corner there. Bruce just actually just riding on the back bumper of Snav. But again, no change at the front. Danzo's still in ahead of Swargy. Just following them at the moment. But at the present moment, Ruddo looks like he might have just broken the slipstream. Fastest sector so far from Ruddo. Snav's gone a little bit deep into the corner, so these two are now fighting utterly hard for second place. That's Snav off the road, coming out of Budweiser balcony. And Snav, he might get reset, you know, if he ends up doing that. He does indeed. Where's JPH? And he takes that podium place. Oh, poor Snav. I can understand why Snav tried to do that. Oh, that's Snav off the road. Danzo's off the road, rather. And Swargy's up to 4th. We can't see Snav for some reason. But as it stands, Snav has just gone from 2nd to 5th in a couple of corners as a result of running wide at Budweiser balcony, and JPH is staring at an open gift of 3rd place with 2 minutes to go, and he'll love that. That'll be just reward for someone who's just kept it on the road, a personal best that last lap as well. And Snav will be frustrated. He won't like the fact that he got reset that way, because it was harsh where he got reset. But that is how the GT Sport game works. Whether that'll be improved in GT7 is one that remains to be seen. It's Danzo, it's D Hartley, it's Tim. Tim has been overtaken by D Hartley. Made a mistake on the prior lap to this one, unfortunately for Tim. But still, 1:23 to go on the clock. Drivers just need to keep themselves focused, because Ruddo at the moment, he's keeping himself focused. Fastest lap of the race. Started from the back, and now he's there in the lead. Bruce Lee has lost his sparring partner, and arguably as a result lost the race lead and victory potentially. So he's going to have to try and settle for 2nd place. Swargy's gone flying off the road, gets himself back on the circuit. Snav will have the momentum. Will he get the line coming through the corner? He will. He's got enough overspeed, and he goes into 4th. So Snav gets a position back. He's going to be really frustrated though. Snav, he's lost the podium. Danzo 6th, Hartley 7th, Tim in 8th. The drivers all pushing it as best as they can. But we're on the final lap now. The drivers working their way through the 9 corners on this track. Only a handful of seconds, 2 handful of seconds left remaining on the clock on that right hand side. Will Hartley get another lap in? I think he'll just about cross the line here. He does. Tim sees the checkered flag though. But we've got to cut back to Ruddo. He made his moves count when he had to put himself in that position. He got past Bruce Lee, then he broke the toe with Snav and Bruce Lee fighting really hard. And since then he's just controlled the pace. He's been able to keep himself on the circuit with no concerns. It's been a great drive from the number 24 and our current championship leader, not just in the Fugus, not just in the Mini Coopers, which he's going to extend his advantage in, but also overall in the table. He's got 1 corner to navigate, gets himself around this corner. He can even lift off if he wants to, but he doesn't. It's going to be, for the second time tonight, Ruddo 24 takes the win and stretches out that championship advantage. Great result for him. Bruce Lee Harden's going to come home in 2nd place, just about. He almost did that too early, but he gets 2nd in the end. That's going to be a fight for the line. JPH is going to get 3rd. Well done to JPH for his first podium this season in the Minis. Swargy holds on for 4th. Snav tried it at the end Snav loses out on the final lap to 5th place after snatching 4th the lap prior. Danzo takes 6th. And D. Hartley, a quiet race for him after his earlier adventure. He's going to come home to finish in 7th position. Tim's seen the checkered flag already. But it's Ruddo, the man on form, the man on fire in the Greddy Cooper Z League. And that, ladies and gentlemen, marks the halfway point of the season. And Ruddo is looking in incredible form. It's going to take a whole lot for him to not win the championship this season, but that's not to say it's not still wide open. The drivers certainly do have the opportunity in the upcoming 5 rounds to make an impression on Ruddo and hopefully take this championship down to the wire. But in terms of action tonight, and in terms of action out on circuit at Willow Springs, that is it for the evening. Well done to Ruddo once again for the race victory. I'll be commentating in a few days' time in terms of catching up on the race 4 that the drivers had last week at Brands Hatch GP, so do check that out. The stream will be coming up in a few days, and all of this of course will be uploaded to YouTube, where you can watch that back anytime you want. It won't get taken down, I promise. But for the time being, I've been Jack TM53 Synopsis, your commentator as always on Next Gen Thursday Night Console Leagues, and wherever you might be in the big wide world, have a good one and see you soon.